Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. You are in the right place if you want to hear more about putting an end to people pleasing tendencies in the workplace. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, if you are joining live, say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from today. We have folks joining from all over the world, which is very exciting. And if you are catching this on replay, go ahead and type replay. I want to be able to shout you out as well. I'm going to be sharing a lot of information as we're on this live today. So help your neighbors out. If you hear something that stands out, that resonates with you, or that you feel is important, go ahead and type it in the chat. Help your neighbors out. So as you're coming on, say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. I want to be able to shout you out. If we haven't met yet or you are new here, I am Melody Wilding. I am a professor of human behavior. I'm an executive coach, and I am the author of this book right here, Trust Yourself, Stop Overthinking and Channel Your Emotions for Success at Work. I am also the creator of Resilient. Resilient is a first of its kind comprehensive program to help sensitive high achievers, maybe someone just like yourself, regain your confidence, master your emotions, and reach your full potential at work. And I'm very excited because Resilient is reopen for enrollment as of today with some special bonuses. The link is on the screen. I will also make sure it's in the chat, so make sure you check that out. So I was saying sensitive high achievers. I call these people sensitive strivers. These are professionals who think and feel everything more deeply than most people. They are part of the 20% of the population who is genetically wired, who has a different disposition that makes them more attuned to other people's emotions as well as their own. So, being a sensitive striver, it makes you empathetic, conscientious, compassionate, diligent, determined. That perceptiveness you have as a sensitive striver is a tremendous gift. It's a great asset. But at the same time, this wiring, especially if you're not aware of how it works or you've never been given the tools to navigate it properly, can also leave you more susceptible to people pleasing, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. So, again, if you're joining, say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from today. I want to start out by talking a bit more about people pleasing, or very simply put, is the idea of putting other people's needs ahead of your own. And I don't want you to get me wrong here. I want to be very clear that it's very admirable to be the pleasant coworker who wants to be supportive of other people, who is kind. But there's a line here. Putting other people first, especially doing that chronically, doing it all the time, can have a very negative impact on your own well being. Because at its core, people pleasing is a sign that you have a stronger desire for approval from other people. You have a stronger desire for external validation, and you have a lower regard for yourself. That's at the core what people pleasing is about. A strong desire for approval from others and low regard for yourself. So Ahmed, Lorena, Madhi, Anjuman, thank you so much for joining. Arcana, hello from India, all over the world. This is amazing. Fantastic. So again, at its core, people pleasing is a sign that you have a strong desire for external validation and approval and low regard for yourself. And that's because you begin thinking or acting in ways that compromise yourself, what's most important to you. So, of course, again, being kind, compassionate, wanting to help other people is great. But the truth is, people pleasing is really a self soothing behavior. People pleasing is not just about wanting to be helpful and serving others, it goes deeper than that. It's about avoiding criticism, avoiding conflict, judgment, disapproval, rejection. right? It's an avoidance mechanism. It's a way to try to make you feel safe. It's more than just wanting to be genuinely helpful. And that insecurity that results may drive you to conform to other people's opinions, expectations, even when you don't want to or you have a better idea. And it can make it rather very difficult for you to say no when you should. So you overextend yourself. You say yes all the time. This is why we often see people pleasing and burnout really go hand in hand. I want to share with you a few signs that you might be a people pleaser. I'm going to read 7 of these signs that you might be a people pleaser. I want you to go ahead and type in the chat, out of these 7, how many resonate with you? And hi, Christina, great to have you here. Thanks for joining. So, out of these 7 signs, how many resonate with you? How many do you relate to? So, number 1, you need other people to like you. You have a strong need for other people to like you. Number 2, you over apologize or you accept fault for something even when you're not to blame or something was out of your control. Number 3, you are overly quick to agree, to say yes, to accept an assignment, maybe even before you fully know what's involved. 4, you struggle to express your thoughts or how you really feel. As I said before, people pleasing can lead you to compromise yourself. So you may change, you may downplay, you may not share your thoughts or opinions or how you really feel about something because you don't want to rock the boat. Number 5, you run all of your ideas by other people first. As I said, people pleasing is a strong need for approval and external validation. So you may run all of your ideas before you assess for yourself whether you want to do something or not. You run the idea, you outsource it to other people first. 6, conflict upsets you and you ruminate about conversations. If work tends to follow you home at night and you replay conversations and you think, oh, why did I say that? I should have said this. Maybe they're mad at me now. That's a big sign. And number 7, you take work home with you after hours. So how many of those 7 signs do you relate to? John, great to have you here. Thanks for joining. Go ahead and share in the comments, out of those 7, how many do you relate to? Needing other people to like you, over apologizing or accepting fault when you're not to blame, being quick to agree, say yes, or accepting assignments, struggling to express your thoughts, running all your ideas by other people first, being upset by conflict, and taking work home with you, ruminating about it after hours. Tell me in the chat how many of those you relate to. So the truth is that people pleasing is a habit that can often take a lifetime to be set in place. So you have to be patient with yourself as you begin to unwind this. As much as I wish there was an easy button or a simple switch that you flip, it's not that easy. So you have to be patient with yourself as you unwind this. And that's something that we do in depth with the tools and the strategies and the support you get inside Resilient. Right now, though, I want to give you some initial ideas, some initial steps you can begin thinking about to free yourself from that need for validation and approval from others so that you can feel good enough. So, first strategy to start to overcome people pleasing in the workplace. Our first strategy is to create more personal policies and procedures. Let me repeat that again. The first step is to create more personal policies and procedures. I want to give you an example that I think will illustrate this. So, one of my clients, I'll call him Edward, he was a product manager at a growing, very fast growing tech startup. If you know anything about being in a product role, then you might understand that you are receiving and expected to integrate a lot of information from all sides, from all different departments. And that was really the reality that Edward found himself in. He was constantly receiving demands from business development, marketing, engineering, And Ed, being the people pleasing, very collaborative guy that he saw himself as, would try to accommodate all of those requests as much as humanly possible. But he found himself spending so much time triaging, fielding, processing all of those requests from different directions that no work was actually getting done. And sometimes when it was getting done, it was conflicting, right? Business development would want one thing, marketing would want a different thing, engineering would say, well, we can't do that. And so he found himself in the middle of all of these conflicts all the time. So, what we devised for Ed was a process, a system whereby people from those teams had to submit their requests in a much more structured way. Instead of them just ad hoc throwing things at him in a meeting, via Slack, or in the hallway, they had to go through a form and fill out specific questions. This was a very simple but very powerful change for Ed, because it forced other people, it forced those other teams to have to be much more intentional and detailed with their requests. And it meant that Ed didn't have to be the mean guy, he didn't have to be the naysayer and constantly push back. So, this is just one example, but I want you to think about for yourself what type of processes, systems, procedures can help you operate more effectively and efficiently in your role and get you out of that constantly responding mode or trying to customize everything to everybody's demands. So, for example, maybe you create a standard policy that says no discounts, right? Which means you eliminate the people pleasing tendency to give people special deals. Or perhaps you have a personal policy around your email or your message response times that says, I get back to everyone within one business day, right? Okay, so that is our first strategy, is to think about creating those standardized processes, systems, or procedures that help you be more effective and keep you away from those people-pleasing tendencies. So if an idea is coming to you of what you could do here, go ahead and type it in the chat. We want to hear it. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so the second thing all people pleasers need to embrace is the use of strategic silence. Do you see what I just did there? The use of strategic silence. As a people pleaser, you may have the tendency to over explain. This is really, really common with sensitive strivers. We inadvertently try to overcompensate for our insecurities by saying more, providing more information, adding more slides, providing more detail, right? Especially in situations where we feel nervous, intimidated, we want people to like us. We try to do more to prove ourselves. So I'm willing to bet you have found yourself in a tense situation, maybe even a conflict. So maybe you tried to be assertive and to ask for something that you want from someone else, but then you immediately undermined yourself. You made a request and then you said, oh, but if that's too hard, don't worry about it. It's really not a big deal anyway. How many of you have done that? You make a request and then you immediately throw yourself under the bus and undermine that request, right? If you can't do it, that's no problem. We'll find somebody else. No big deal. Let me know if you have ever done that in the chat. So this is one major place where strategic silence comes in. Silence is a very powerful and a very underutilized tool. When we use silence correctly, when we add in strategic pauses, it can really help you reclaim control of a conversation. So if someone is starting to escalate in a meeting, for example, you can take a deep breath. You can wait 3 to 5 seconds before responding, and that helps stonewall that aggression. So I actually want to share with you an example from one of our resilient members, my program for sensitive strivers. As I said, it's open for enrollment right now. The link is on the screen if you want to learn more. In Resilient, we really focus on helping you go from insecure to confident at work. So one of our members, I'll call him Todd, he shared, a client of mine wasn't listening to reason, and they just wanted to push their way through the conversation and get me to see their way of doing things, which would have resulted in a large waste of my time and resources. Instead of agreeing or filling the space by acquiescing, I decided that I would put an extra long pause after everything they said or asked to show that I'm thinking about it. They ended up filling in that empty space with more options and even included the desired route I proposed to them after all. And he said, silence is a time and energy saver, and it tends to bring the other person to a natural ending point in their request or our conversation. I mean, how cool is that, right? So this week, I want to challenge you to use strategic silence in more of your conversations. Place just 3 to 5 seconds. That doesn't sound long, but it will feel like an eternity. Just 3 to 5 extra seconds before you say anything else, before you follow up your request, before you respond to another person. Observe how that feels for you, what comes up for you. But I also want you to notice how it shifts the conversation. And what I think you'll find is that it encourages the other person to provide more detail, to arrive at their own conclusion, just like Todd saw. Okay, so that is our second strategy for all our workplace people pleasers, is to use strategic silence. Last strategy is to get comfortable letting people fail. Get comfortable letting people fail. I know that this may sound harsh, but what I mean by this is that if you are a people pleaser, you need to give people space to make their own mistakes and to have missteps. For example, if you are someone who is constantly correcting data points in a report that your colleague gives you, let's say that's the situation you find yourself in. If you are always the one fixing the problem, your colleague never has to face the consequences of failing to pull their weight or to fix the issue for themselves. So they just keep doing what they're doing because you're the fixer, you're the problem solver for them. So why should they change? Your impulse to jump in may be coming from a good place. You may want to seem helpful. You want the team to succeed. You want to make a good impression on your client, but it has a cost to you and to them. When you start to take a step back, others will make mistakes. Balls will be dropped. You have to be comfortable with that. And when that happens, you have to manage your own emotions. You have to be able to not rush in and save the situation just to ease your own discomfort. Because as I said at the beginning of this live, people pleasing is really a self-soothing behavior. It's really about managing your own emotions and having control. You have to let people go through productive struggle. You have to let them figure things out on their own. That's how people learn and grow. That's how they learn to take ownership and accountability. And you don't want to deprive them of that. So I want you to imagine just how much further you could go without people pleasing, the subsequent burnout, the self-doubt that comes along with it, without all of that holding you back. And I want you to imagine just how much more fulfilled, productive, effective you could be if you got out of your own way. Resilient can help you with that, because inside you will discover proven strategies and tools to learn how to trust yourself and to use your sensitivity to fuel your success instead of self-sabotage. This is the only program of its kind on the market that helps sensitive high achievers, sensitive strivers like you regain your confidence, master your emotions, and reach your full potential at work. And as of today, doors are open for re-enrollment only for a limited time to this improved, brand new, expanded version of the program. I spent the last year totally overhauling it, making it much more comprehensive. And when you sign up now, you also get access to some amazing bonuses, including 3 live group coaching calls with me and a live welcome call on June 29th. So head on over to melodywilding.com/resilient. I will make sure that link is in the chat. It's also on the screen here. Head on over to melodywilding.com/resilient to join us now and get those bonuses. Okay, let me check in with the chat. Okay. Anjuman was saying I need to recheck myself before making such request. Ryan was saying at times I throw myself under the bus, and sometimes when I do it, it's almost as if I simply can't stop myself from doing it. Not my favorite tendency, very, very wishy-washy. Absolutely. Ryan, that strategic silence is going to be so important for you to practice. It's going to be a muscle. I will tell you that. So start in conversations where you feel a bit safer with the people that you're doing this with so that you can build that muscle of curbing that tendency to over-explain. Start in conversations you feel more comfortable with. Let's see. John was saying, great stuff, had to jump in and out, but follows with your book. Thank you so much, John. I'm glad to hear that. And Robbie was saying, tough love. Exactly. Exactly. As I said, letting people fail may sound harsh, but it's really about allowing people the space they need to learn and grow and really take accountability and ownership for their own behavior. So let me just review what we covered today. We talked about the first strategy to overcome people pleasing is to think about what are the standardized personal policies and procedures that you can put in place to make your work more streamlined and efficient, to get yourself away from that constant responsiveness, customization of what everybody else around you wants. Second strategy, embrace strategic silence. Curb that tendency to over-explain and throw yourself under the bus. And the last strategy is where I lost my notes here. Our last strategy is getting comfortable letting other people fail. Taking a step back, understanding that it's okay to selectively allow balls drop. Right? There's a time and a place for this. Sometimes you may need to step in, but selectively allow balls to drop. Let people experience the consequences of making mistakes so that they have room to learn and grow and create their own accountability and ownership. So let me know in the chat which of those strategies resonated with you the most, what you're going to try as you walk away from this live today. Look forward to hearing what resonated with you. I look forward to having you join us inside Resilient. If you have any questions about the program, go ahead and type them in the chat. I'm happy to answer. Thanks for joining today. I will be back later this week, so make sure you join us then, and I will see you soon. Take care, everyone.